Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the Greatness Movement podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Weiss. I'm a life coach, speaker, author, and founder of the Greatness Movement based here in Phoenix, where we guide you to be the greatest version of yourselves. Well, tonight I wanted to try and do something a little inspiring. Success, right? Whether it's personally or professionally, isn't that what we all want? That sense of safety and peace. But the question becomes, are we struggling with a fear of success or a fear of failure? I think most people, if you asked them, they would say their greatest fear is failure. Well, let's find out about that. I know in my experience, I thought for years that was my struggle. I came to realize it's not success. And that's been my experience is nobody's afraid to fail. Which may be shocking, but maybe you still think you are. So I've come up tonight with some questions so you can decide for yourself if if the fear of success might actually be what's keeping you from what you want, whether it's in your professional life or in relationships. So I want to try and inspire people to choose success and face that fear. Instead of, like me, mischaracterizing it under a sense of a fear of failure. So let's get started with that. Let's see if any of this applies to you. The first question is, do you fear judgment from others? So think about it. If, let's say, you're pursuing a relationship and you think this person is perfect, but you're afraid, wait a minute, they come from the wrong side of the tracks, or maybe they come from the so-called better side of the tracks. They're outside your social circle. Are you afraid of what other people might say or think if you dated them? What about when it comes to, professional success? Do you then judge successful people as bad? Are you afraid, like, if all of a sudden you started to succeed, other people might see you differently? Is that a concern of yours? I know I had a client who this week actually brought this topic up. They talked about how they were pulling into work and they got out of their car and they've been dreaming about a certain type of car for a long time. And she just got this flash in her head of, instead of closing the door on her current car, she was closing the door on her dream car. And she got overwhelmed with the realization of, oh my God, if I showed up to work with this car, oh, everybody, it would be so upset. They'd think I'm hoity-toity. They'd think I'm too good for everybody. It was fascinating to hear this incredibly successful person who's doing well, who thinks her fear is fear of failure. Yet it's not. She's afraid of succeeding, of claiming what she believes is something she wants. So ask yourself that when it comes to dating or your business life. Do you have that kind of reaction when you think of whether it's going to a nice restaurant, whether it's buying something you like, living in a certain area, showing up to work in certain clothes, or asking a certain person out? Are you afraid other people might judge you, like this person doesn't fit the norm or what you should be with? You see that all the time on social media. People will really judge somebody for dating somebody. Oh, they're trash, or they're just trying to think they're better by dating someone like that. There's lots of judgment placed on people for who they date. Well, that just shows you a fear of success. So look in your life. See, that's a first question to ask yourself. Are you concerned about judgment from others? If you are, your fear is not failure. Your fear is success. What about this one? Are you afraid what they call the imposter syndrome? Picture yourself. You go on the fancy vacation, you buy the great car, you have the great house, You succeed, or maybe there's a book you've been wanting to write, or a certain career you've been wanting to pursue that like this is your greatness. This is what you were meant to do. But then you're afraid, oh my God, if I achieve it, people will see how imperfect I am. They'll see I'm an imposter. And then maybe, what if my past demons, maybe I got arrested for something. Maybe I struggle with alcohol or sex or whatever it may be. Does that all of a sudden, see, that would be part of the judgment stuff too. But all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute, I can't live up to that if I'm going to be somebody who helped, like someone in my profession, my profession is to help other people. Well, oh my God, how could I help people when I'm such a train wreck? Well, that's why my whole life story and what a train wreck is all across the internet. I learned that the first day I started. I was like, unless you're willing to expose how absolutely awful you are, you better not do this, because that's the only way you can do it. If you try and stand up here a mantle of perfection, people will see right through it. Your past eventually will catch up with you. You can't hide things like that. And isn't that what frustrates us about anybody? It's not so much that they were imperfect, it's that they tried to hide it from us. That's what insults us. We don't need someone in a helping profession to be perfect. We only need them to be perfect when they've lied to us and they've tried to hide it. And then we're like, well, they weren't even qualified anyway. All of a sudden we jump on them then, because now they've shown, wow, they really were an imposter. So think about that. Maybe you want to ask someone out on a date, or maybe you're currently in a relationship and you don't want to open up. Like, you adore this person, but you're scared to death if they knew how imperfect you were, they wouldn't love you. Well, that's fear of success. That's not failure. You have everything at your fingertips. Your greatness and everything you're meant to do, you already know you're capable. But you're afraid that if your perfect imperfections were exposed, you'd be seen as an imposter. Well, the opposite is the truth. When you yourself are able to accept how wonderful your imperfections are, then anyone else can. The only problem comes is when you can't. So that's question number 2. Are you afraid that if you went after your success, or what I really like to call your greatness, personally or professionally, that somehow others might see you as an imposter, or you might even see yourself as an imposter because you haven't accepted yourself fully yet? Well, that would be a fear of success. You're even afraid to go do the work to forgive yourself and accept everything you are. And so you couch it under a fear of failure or some other excuse, when really it's the imposter syndrome. And it's a fear of, wait a minute, if I really accept who I am, I could have what I want. But I haven't accepted who I am. And so if I pursue it, others are going to see I'm an imposter. So look at it from that angle. How does that ring? Does that ring true for you? Have you been misjudging all of those inner thoughts and feelings as fear of failure? That's not failure you're afraid of, it's success. All right, let's move on to the third question to ask yourself to see if you're struggling with failure or success. When you consider achieving this success or greatness, are you afraid of losing your friends? Think about that. What would your friends and family say? What are their beliefs about this profession? Do they have different ones? Or maybe right now the problem is you're in a profession that they accept, but you really hunger to do something different. You convince yourself that you're afraid to fail at it, when the truth is you're afraid to succeed at it because you're concerned what your friends and family and how it goes against their beliefs and they might shun you. Well, that's not a fear of failure. That's a fear of success. See, that I have another client who who had this deep passion to do something different. And he would always say, you know, he wanted to start working on it in the evenings. Um, you know, not take away from his career and his family and all of that, you know, meet his responsibilities. And he would do it in the evenings, but he came to me because he never found time to do it. And, you know, he had this hunger, and what we discovered was he got sent the message as a child that work comes before everything. And so this passion to him was play. But yet, what are we all told about, you know, if you want to be successful in life, do a career that you would do for free, that doesn't even feel like work. But see, he had been sent the message that, you know, work is your priority. So work is hell. So his belief system was life has to be hell. And if you go pursue a passion, which is play, then you're breaking the belief system of the family. And so he would find all of these well-intentioned excuses as to why he didn't have time in his free time to work on his passion. There was always some work he had to do, some job for the kids or job for his spouse or something around the house. Like, he loaded up every opportunity for him to pursue as a passion. He would guilt himself into, no, I really shouldn't do that. I should be working. Okay? So I want you to think about it. What belief systems are in your family? What belief systems are keeping you from pursuing your greatness and your success? Are you stuck in a similar dynamic? All right, I want you to think about that. Like, for me, I know it showed up in my life. When I was a kid, we moved out to the suburbs in Denver, and hockey season started. My parents took me to the rink, and I'm practicing. And the next thing I know, I had no idea there were these traveling teams. They called them A teams. I think they call them AAA or select teams now. But I made it, and I was quickly a star. Well, I didn't think anything of it. I was just playing hockey. I love it. Well, all of a sudden I started getting all this notoriety. Well, everyone in all my brothers and sisters turned on me, and they're all like, you're so cocky, you're so arrogant. And I'm like, what's happening here? Well, I learned really quickly that my success was a threat to everybody else. My youngest brother, I would constantly want him to play board games, all these types of games. Well, the poor kid, he had two older brothers who were very successful. That's a lot to live up to. It was a lot of pressure for him. Now, truth be told, he was the best natural athlete of all of us, but he grew up under such expectations of expertise that it really scared him. So whenever we'd play games, I'd beat him, in part because I was older. Well, I learned really the only way I could spend time with my younger brother is if I lost. I had to try and create dynamics where he could win. And even then because then he'd go, you're just letting me win. Like, he was no dummy. He figured it out. But those are the messages we get sent. And then we think we're afraid of failure. No, for many of us, there's a huge family and friend cost to succeeding. We run into that all the time. I mean, I'll never forget watching the documentary on Prince, and friends he grew up with said, he just completely blew them off. Now, I think in those dynamics, there's a mutuality that happens. One thing, when you pursue success and greatness, you do learn and grow. And those people that you started off with, that you were equals, who don't dedicate themselves to the pursuit of growth and excellence, they stay stuck. And so what happens with super athletes, super actors or actresses or musicians is they chase that greatness and they become consumed by it because it's a passion, right? It's not a job, it's a passion. And so the whole essence of who they are comes bubbling to the surface. And that's when we're most alive and we become literally addicted to expressing our genius and our excellence. And as we do that, we grow and develop in all areas of our life. Well, those friends that were with us in the beginning, they're not doing that. They're staying stagnant. So two things happen. One, the person pursuing their excellence and their greatness all of a sudden has different interests. All of a sudden they look at this person and they see, wow, we're in different places. Like we can't really communicate. They don't see the world the way I see it because they haven't grown with me. Now, from this person's perspective, they're going, oh, they got cocky, bigger for the britches. They want to be around all the successful people, whatever. Now, there's truth in that. There is truth in people are using, outside affirmation to make them feel themselves feel better, and they're not really pursuing their greatness. And so they divorce themselves of that stuff because now they're in this new social group and they're afraid of what those new friends will say of their old friends. So they're afraid of that. So they dump those off. But more often than not, like when I saw that Prince documentary, what I saw was the opposite. I saw somebody who chased their excellence and in the process grew differently. There was a separation and the friends didn't. And so all of a sudden they see the world differently. Their beliefs are different. Their interests are different. Well, that's a big thing that keeps people from choosing to pursue their greatness. They don't want to lose those friends. They don't want to hear the judgments. They don't want to feel the rejection from people, friends and family that have been with them forever. And so they set up dynamics not to pursue it, or they sit and say they're afraid of failing, but it's not true. So I want you to think about what would happen in your life if you had the perfect relationship or the perfect career, if you chased all of that. Are you deep down concerned? Have there been family and friend messages sent to you about the consequences of doing that? Is that a possibility? Is that what is really keeping you from success and not a fear of failure? Okay, so there's question number 3. Now the next two are really the meat of it. This is what most people will never admit to, but it's the most common. Number 4, are you afraid to give up the struggle? And almost everyone, no, I can't stand the struggle. I'm so sick of being broke. I'm so sick of being alone. No, this is what I see universally mischaracterized as the fear of failure when it's the fear of success. See, when the reason we stay stuck, the reason we won't pursue it is it's comfortable. We know it. We want to stay in our comfort zone. And your denial of that fact is literally proof of it. And I'm going to ask you one more question in the end that'll bring this all home. And you go, oh, damn it, he's right. The bottom line is failure is easy. It's just easier. Like it's so easy to cave because it takes nothing. Because if we're not where we want, we're already failing. There's a progression to things, but if you're sitting there feeling like, fear of failure is keeping you stuck, you're lying to yourself. It's fear of success. You're staying stuck on purpose because you love the struggle. I had to figure this one out myself. I know for me, I have always had huge fears around money because my mom and dad, there was always massive fears growing up around money. They sold a house and built a brand new one out in the suburbs on land, very expensive, right as the real estate market crashed. Like my parents were in over their head. We moved into that house. We all had mattresses on the floor. We had moving boxes for nightstands. We had no kitchen table, no furniture in the house. None. Nothing. Literally nothing. We couldn't afford it. Yet we're in this massive house. Looks like we're all rich and successful. And so the fear around money. And so one of the things I found where I wouldn't give up the struggle is I'd start to make money and then I'd go buy stuff. And all of a sudden I'd put myself right back into that state of deprivation, wondering, oh my God, do I have enough to pay my bills? Always there. And I see this over and over and over. People will get in a relationship, they start a fight, they cheat, they do something to stay in the struggle. It's all they know. They're comfortable with it. It's been their life experience through childhood, through adulthood, everything. They're also, because they're used to that chaos, all of that chaos, in whatever area of their life it is, to not have it, they'd be bored to death if they couldn't obsess and worry. I see this all the time, all over the internet. People just puking their obsessions and worries. They're caught up in the fear of success because they're so entrenched and so afraid to give up the struggle. It's all they know. It's become their identity. And they post online and they get thousands of people commenting and encouraging them. That's why failure is so easy. We don't have to take responsibility for our lives. We can literally play a child and blame it on everyone and everything. And then we can post online and get all these people, I'm behind you, wishing nothing but the best. And so here we are, staying small, playing small, so that we don't have to take responsibility for anything. We can stay in our comfort zone and we can get all of that easy to come by false adulation, which brings us that comfort. So ask yourself that. Look in your life, like, this is a tough one. You really have to take ownership out of the denial that we're all stuck in, and really be honest with yourself. If you aren't succeeding personally or professionally in your relationship or your career, is it most likely that you're addicted to the struggle and you're not willing to give it up? You love the obsessiveness of worrying about it, the false attention you get, how you don't have to take responsibility for yourself, how you can stay in your comfort zone, and how it is to keep doing the same thing over and over. That's not a fear of failure. That's a fear of success. That one takes guts. The only people that's everybody who's not where they want to be. But that one takes guts to admit. You'll only be able to admit that when you're ready to conquer success. If you hear all of that and you're in denial and going, no, and getting angry with me, then you're getting too much out of playing the victim and staying in your comfort zone. My advice to that person is, please keep doing it, accelerate it, do it more, fail more, complain more, play the victim more. Please, like, literally do less and less and less and fail more and more. In other words, go victimize yourself so much that one day you wake up and go, oh my God, I've run out of options. The only option left is I have to go face my fear of success. That's the only way you'll overcome that one. Okay. Question number 5. This one was me a lot too. Do you follow up success with failure? Is your life like this, a roller coaster? Do you start to succeed and then you self-sabotage? Again, that was something I did financially. I'd start to succeed. I'd go buy a car. I'd go buy something. And poof, I'm right back down to $1,000 in the bank, whatever. And going, oh my God, how am I going to get this or that? Geez, I got to pick up a second job. I got to do something. You'll see this a lot with couples. They start getting along really well, and then all of a sudden they start to fight. Is there a cyclical nature to your relationship that after a great weekend, somewhere the next week, you guys have a blowout fight? Is that what you do? What about with your kids? Do you go on drinking binges after you get a promotion or something? Drug binges, alcohol binges, food binges, Do you stop working out? Like, what do you stop doing when things start going well? Like, this is a critical one. Look in your life. What do you stop doing when things go well in your life? That is at the heart of a fear of success. And most people are like, oh, I don't know, life just happened to me. No, that's not true. You have to get more self-aware to see how you're setting up the dynamics. You have to get out of that denial that comes with question number 4. And when you get out of that denial, you'll see, oh my God, I keep setting up this roller coaster. I keep following up any little success on purpose with a failure so I can stay in that comfort zone, so I don't have to take responsibility, so I don't have to face the fear of upsetting the apple cart with my friends or family. I don't have to face the imposter syndrome. I don't have to worry about being judged. All of those things are intertwined in it. So I want you to look at all of that. Where in your life are you setting up? Are you following up success with a purposeful failure? And if you don't think it's purposeful, go back to question number 4, confront the denial, because you are. It's not on accident. It's not. All right. Question number 6. This is a bonus one. In the intro, I said there was only 5, so I'm surprising you with one. This one proves all of it. Have you ever had the experience of laying in bed or sitting at your office desk and you know exactly what you need to do to make your life better? Send off that email. Go knock on a few doors. Do some cold calling. Buy your spouse flowers. And yes, women, you can buy your men flowers too. Romance goes both ways. Is there something you sit there and consider doing? Leaving early for work to spend time with your spouse. But you go, I just don't feel like it. Not today, maybe tomorrow. See, right there. And everybody does that on a daily basis, all day long. They know exactly what they need to do to succeed in their life, to make their life what they want. That feeling comes up, and what do they all do? I don't feel like it. Well, you're not afraid of failure then, because you just chose it. And that's an addiction everybody does daily. And then they all say they're afraid of success. It's not possible, and you just proved it to yourself. Every single time you do that, you're choosing failure. What you're scared to death of is success, because if you actually went and acted on that impulse, that deep knowing, that instinct that says, this is where my greatness lies, this is what I'm meant to bring into my relationships and my career, and you don't act on it, you have just discovered exactly how you play out the fear of success. And everybody does that on a daily basis. It's like I always say, nobody is afraid of failure. It's not humanly possible. That's what it is. Everybody's afraid of success. Now, the great news is I have some resources for you. The first is next week, I'm going to tell you exactly where that fear of success comes from, where that feeling comes from that we all suffer from, that creates every single one of these. Because at the heart of fearing judgment from others, of the imposter syndrome, fearing losing our friends and family, giving up the struggle, following up success with failure, laying in bed or sitting at our desk and that feeling stops us, at the heart of that feeling is one thing. And next week, I'm going to walk you through exactly what that is. Okay? So next week, tune in for the solution on how to overcome. Now that you know you're afraid of success, because if you answered yes to one of those, I would be very surprised if anyone didn't answer yes to all 6 of those. But now you know what your real fear is. And next week, I'm going to walk you through what's driving it. It's a feeling. And I'm going to give you where that feeling comes from and how to change it. Okay, so tune in next week for the solution. But in the meantime, I want to give you a warm up. I want you to pick up this book. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. He calls it, I think, your ultimate genius limit, something like that. I call it greatness. He calls it, our genius. And it's a wonderful book. And he talks about the same concepts I do, but on a very superficial level. So it's very easy to read, very easy to understand. But as I find with most books, it doesn't get to the deeper root of it. But this will be a great primer for you to read before next week. So you'll hear him talk about some things. And then when you hear me talk about it, you'll go, oh my God, now I get it. It'll really bring home the ideas and suggestions he's bringing here. And then to go even deeper into the success problem, you read my book. But the two back to back, this one primes you for what I'm going to teach you next week and what I teach in my book. This is kind of like the introduction, and mine's the advanced class. But it's a great read. I've been reading it myself. Some great tips and great, real simple ways for you to see how you're limiting yourself. Okay, so that's your first step. The next option I have for you is another good news. I have another greatness group starting September 17th. That's Tuesday, September 17th at 7 o'clock. We go through the whole process on how to overcome the fear of success. So if these 6 questions are showing up in your life, just go to the website, www.thegreatnessmovement.com. You'll see right there on the opening screen, you can click to go right to the group page, and you can either sign up for the first month, or I give you a massive discount if you pay for the whole course in advance. You get 3 months free. So head on over to the website if you're like, yep, I'm done with it. I'm not going to take Kenny's suggestion and go live in more hell and sabotage my life more. I've done that enough. I'm ready to face my fear of success. I'm ready to start having the personal and professional life I want. If that's you, just head to the website, www.thegreatnessmovement.com, and join the group today while we still have slots available. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Remember, tune in next week so you learn the skills and tools to overcome your fear of success. And as I say every week, remember, whenever we judge, blame, criticize, or hate anyone or anything, the only reason we do that is because we see aspects of ourselves that we haven't addressed yet and haven't forgiven in ourselves. And so we're projecting our own lack of acceptance onto somebody else because we can only see in others what's operating in us. But the opposite of that is still true also. When you see greatness in somebody, the only reason you can see that greatness in them is because you're so great. So start living in it. Start claiming it. Start looking for greatness in everybody and going, that's me. It's my turn. It's my turn. I'm going to let that in now. All right, everybody? Do that and let me know how it works out. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week and get through the steps on how to overcome your fear of success. Have a great night. I can